everybody, welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and disembodied hands, Justin and John, and probably also Quindy, who is probably more reliable than anybody, but I did see Reaper Miniatures talking to Nomad Zeke in the chat prior to the show, so I assume that Justin is on board. The disembodied hands are all on deck. Hi, everybody. Dedicated. Not fanatical, dedicated. It's like that. So here's Evil Fungal Queen. Yucky. Spooky Ghost Quindy is here. Awesome. We're going to put in some blues on this today. Dark blues. Because right now, everything is light. All is light. So we have to decide what blue we're going to use. It has to be very, very dark blue. We could use Nightmare, although it may be a little saturated for this. Blue liner is probably the best choice. Somebody gift subbed you. Congrats for your gift sub. Welcome, Barbarian Taxidermist. It sounds like a logical career path for a barbarian, actually. Let's see here. Where did I put my blue liner is the next question. Where did I put it? Did I eat it? Oh, there it is. Its label is just so faded that it's not existent. Oh, Bug Lips. We have a Bug Lips on board. Goblin alert. Wee-oo, wee-oo. That's the Goblin alert sound, right? I don't know. I just made it up. We'll keep both of these around. We'll keep both Blue Liner and Nightmare Black around, I think. And what do I want to bring that up with? Probably, I don't know. I have a terrible sense of smell, Bug Lips. You could always sneak up on me. Always. Like, it's my worst sense. Like, I have great eyeballs, like color sensitive eyeballs, you know, and like my hearing isn't bad, and you know, but yeah, my sense of smell, shot. All right, I am trying to decide what blue I want to try to create kind of lighter, weirder blue highlights. I have kind of a concept in my head. I'm gonna keep cyan blue around just to see if that's what I want. And then, do I want to bring that up with a Pathfinder color? We never use Ice Devil blue. We'll keep that around. There we go. I think that's good. We'll see how that happens. I think it's only in Diablo. I don't think Bug Lips explodes into loot. It doesn't make sense. It's just like, it seems like the order of the universe would be different. If he exploded in the loot, that means he would be exploding himself all the time, and we would always have Bug Lips in a constant state of exploding, and we would never see him online. He would just be in between dimensions all the time. So to me, that just doesn't seem like it works. Also, I doubt Quindy would enjoy a constantly exploding Bug Lips. So let's just table that idea. Far away. Oh, I believe it. Well, of course you have a loot sack. That's my point. If you exploded in the loot, you'd just always be exploding because you'd always want more loot, so. Alrighty. Let us figure out what we're doing. Yeah. Hello, Balrog John. Guten Morgen. We are mushrooming today. Mushroom. Badger. Yeah, that's what I figured, Quindy. Not a good conversational choice. Let's see. How did I create this lovely... Oh, yeah, I was using Driftwood Brown, my favorite. This is why we keep a sticky note of how to create our colors. So I'm going to recreate my green because I want to be able to blend it into this blue on her hands. And I think I'll create quite a bit of it because you never know when you're going to need extra base. So it's 4 drops troll hide, 2 drops driftwood brown, and 2 drops of bleached linen. And this also enables us to recreate our pallid skin tone if we want to, by just having this mix already pre-mixed. Let's see here. Where's my mixing brush? There it is. So Rhonda put up an excellent blog post yesterday. Did you guys get a chance to look at that? The whole use the good stuff. I thought it would be a good topic of conversation on this stream. As somebody who sometimes suffers from this, although I've been fighting hard to like get past it. I think moving helped me get past it a lot. It's the thing where you don't use like your special colors or your best models, or you don't feel worthy to paint, like, you know, you want to work on crappy models until you're good, quote unquote. Or you hang on to stuff and just don't use it and keep acquiring stuff. If D. Clearman was in chat, I'd totally call him out on this, but he's not. He's working, so I can't. Yeah, read it. Read it. It's a very, very insightful and useful post. Because we all have this issue to some extent, I think. It's a human thing. Alright, let's start with blue liner. And it's something that, like, she's very right about. Like, don't just sit on your favorite stuff. Like, your favorite stuff is stuff that you should be working on. Making yourself work on stuff that you're not as excited about even when you're developing your skills is kind of counterproductive. Oh, thank you, Quindy. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that, like, you've got all these great things and you're scared to start them because you're like, oh, if I wait, I'll be a better painter. But the fact is that your things are just going to sit there, and now you're working on stuff that you don't like as much. So you're not enjoying it as much as you could be if you were working on the thing you really love. Plus, I think probably the best point that she made, it was just something I myself experienced big time when I went to move and sort through my miniatures collection. Whatever you love today, in 2 years, you're not going to be as excited about it. Maybe even in 6 months, you're not going to be as excited about it. So you got to seize the moment and, like, stay excited about it by working on it now. Like, otherwise, 5 years down the road, you're going to end up giving it to somebody or selling it to somebody because you're just not in love with it anymore. And you could have painted it and really enjoyed it when you got it. You know, so that was, like, the one that really hit home for me, because I also have acquired a bunch of awesome Kickstarter stuff right now. And I've sorted through my collection recently, and stuff that I adored, like, I'm just not excited about anymore. It's really sad because I really loved it when I bought it. And now it's just like, oh, that. I guess I just don't feel it because I've gotten so much other stuff in the meantime. Yeah, Estrogene, exactly. And that actually is a good way to kind of tune it. Like, you know, it's a good philosophy in general. Like, I always look for the thing now that I'm excited to paint the most. And sometimes that means after I originally get the things, sometimes that means just putting them away in a box and not looking at them. So that when I go to look at my box again, it's like everything is fresh and new, and there are things in there I may have forgotten I had, and I can get all excited about them again. But it's a very valid point that what you're excited about today, you're not going to be as excited about maybe in 6 months, a year, 2, 5. I mean, we all know we have huge miniatures backlog, and maybe 5 years seems like a long time, but let's face it, with all of the miniatures backlogs we have, it's going to take us that long just to get through the stuff a 10th of the stuff some of us have. So her advice to everybody is to use the good stuff. And the same thing goes for brushes. If you bought like a really nice brush that somebody recommended and you're scared to use it because you're afraid you'll screw it up, like, screw that. Just use it. You can get another one. And it's probably going to help you paint better and with less frustration. So you should use it. As long as you don't leave your brush sitting in your paint water all the time, tip down, you're not going to wreck it. Or you don't let paint dry in it. Like, those are the two cardinal sins of brush handling. And if you are not that person, you'll be okay. Trust us here. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like, if you've got a thing you're excited about using, and if there's something like, you know, maybe if you don't have mineral spirits, so you haven't used that solvent-based paint, but you've been excited to test it, yeah, then just, you know, recognize that you'd like to use it and remove that barrier. The barrier is not having mineral spirits to work with it, so remove the barrier so that you can at least use it when you're working on a model that makes sense with it, right? No, we put barriers in front of ourselves all day long to doing the stuff we really like to do. And then we kind of think about it wistfully and think, oh yeah, I should, and then we get distracted by the next shiny. So, you know, if you pay attention, you can remove those barriers. Let me get... I'm not sure. I think I want a little bit more blue. Maybe Nightmare Black is the better choice here. I went with blue liner a little bit here because it's muted and everything is muted, but I kind of feel like it's too muted. I added a little bleached linen to it. That's why it actually looks lighter than it normally would. I'm going to put some Nightmare Black into it and a little bit more bleached linen and see if it gets... I want a little bit bluer. Well, okay, if you leave paint to solidly dry in your brush and it's up in the ferrule, yeah, but your brush may never be the same. Grey Wolf. I find that brush cleaners can be very harsh on your brush, and that sometimes my brush isn't quite the same if I have to, like, do something severe to it. That's why I actually don't regularly clean my brushes, because, and this is not true with the very gentle conditioning cleaners, like the pink soap and other things like that. The stuff or the gel that's meant to condition your brush. Like, there's some stuff out there that's just fine. Yeah, that looks a little better. I'm happier with that. I wanted a little bit more intensely blue. I just wasn't getting it. I may actually hit it with something else. Well, right. Appropriate usage is appropriate usage. Use your ancient, old, screwy brush for... Although I don't use... brushes, any brushes, even old brushes, I don't use them for glue. I actually find a needle is better. I use my pokey tool, normally. Because if glue dries on the pokey tool, all I have to do is take a knife and just, like, you know, whittle it off. And the pokey tool is back to absolute good. Whereas once you glue a brush, it's done. I'm going to put some cyan blue in this. I just feel like I want something a little bit more intense. I haven't quite been able to hit it, probably because I started with blue liner, which has a lot of black in it. But yeah, I mean, if you're afraid of using good brushes, it's really, I mean, as long as you don't do those horrible things, you're fine. You have to be pretty extreme. Like, common sense is good brush care, right? It's like, or I should say, good brush care is common sense. If something sounds like it's going to, like, abuse your brush, it's going to abuse your brush. Just don't do that. Nice, Bug Lips. Yeah, I usually get a year and a half. Depends on how much I've been painting. You should at least get a year out of your Klinsky's. And it does matter how much you paint. Okay, so with some cyan blue, I've gotten a much more intense blue up here. I like that a little better. Because I want to highlight, I want to kind of put, like, phosphorescent, like, dots on her hands. Like, she's got glowy hands. So I want to go up to a pretty intense blue in small areas of this model. Alright, now I've got this blue. Now I need my paintbrush. I think I'm going to put this up where I can get it in focus. There. But good mental note, zest it. Alright. Yeah, if you don't paint much, you can easily get a decade out of Klinsky's. If you take care of your brushes and you don't paint all that much, like at least one of these brushes, this Odd Zero, I use before. I started using it more frequently recently, but before that, I just used it every once in a while. This thing's at least 5 years old. It's my utility brush that I'm doing everything with, which is the Maestro Series 10 Size 1. This is really on its last leg. It's probably a year and a half now. And it's really on its last leg. I'm really noticing that it's not having a good time anymore. Alright, so that's right. She's got a ring on her hand here. I see a mold line I missed, so I'm going to grab that real quick. But But yeah, if you don't paint much and you've got really good brushes, you get a very long time out of them, which is great. It's a great investment at that point. They will be with you for a long time. This is just a little bit of mold line. I got most of the stuff off prior to starting, but every once in a while you miss a tiny spot. So we're going to work with the Raphael today because we're working with a very large model. I think I want to thin this blue just a little bit more. Pretty soon I'll tank this Raphael as well. It's been almost a year, but it's still, since it's a bigger brush, it has a longer time to go. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the big Kolinskis, that they're $200, you know, the really big ones for canvas painting. I mean, a painter isn't going to pay $200 for a brush if it's not going to last for a decade, right? Like, if you think about it that way. So you can expect your Kolinskis with care. I mean, I'm just brutal on my brushes. That's the only reason I'm not getting more mileage out of them. I'm going to add some blue here. I decided I wanted some blue up in the middle here. Wanted to switch up some colors on her. Add a little bit of extra, and I'm going to darken this down too. I'm going to mix up some blue liner and add some shadows to it, but I wanted to block it in a little bit lighter. We can do whatever colors. Oh, that's showing up much brighter on camera than it is on, that's more like what it looks like in person. It was showing up really bright on camera there for a bit. I was like, ooh. But yeah, so Rhonda's got a great post, and y'all should read it. It's just pretty much use the good stuff. Don't just sit on it. I mean, if you don't use the good stuff, and you're waiting for some time in the nebulous future where you're good enough, quote unquote, to use something or to tackle a subject, and you're probably never going to get there if you're not painting and using stuff, so do it. And I mean, she does bring up there are some models that, you know, may be really rare. You may not be able to get another one. But she also has an excellent point, and I'm glad to see that somebody other than me, is that she doesn't strip models, really. She usually finds that if she messes up on a model and she wants to repaint it, usually she could just paint over it. The only time you can't just paint over a previous paint job is if you've used your paint so thick that it's filling in detail. Or you've created paint texture, again, through not thinning your paint, or because your paint was kind of going down the tubes before you started. I think I want even darker blue here at the very interior. I wanted a really dark shadow behind her head. I'm just mucking around again. This model has a lot of potential and a lot of possibilities, which means I'm going to muck around with it a lot. Change things, see if I like them. She was feeling very one-dimensional before because she didn't have any darks. She didn't have any drama. Her darks were not dark enough in my mind. So there's also a lot of little areas up here under the cap where I feel like I can get a little bit more interesting. So just gonna start kind of bringing in some dark and some blue. Yeah, and don't hold off on painting the really impressive minis. Like, you know, in my old me days, I would have totally saved that Wolf Rider, that Limbo Wolf Rider I got, and not painted it, you know, until I felt like it was time to paint the special model. But I've learned that if I do that, I just don't ever paint it. And by the time I get back to it, it's not as exciting as the thing I just got. So, learn your idiosyncrasies, people. All humans have idiosyncrasies, as we know. And miniature painters have their fair share of those. But yeah, it's sad when you get a mini that you're really excited about and then you put it aside and you lose the excitement. So do consider that when you are thinking that, oh, well, maybe I'll just wait to paint this one. I think I want to... I do want to keep some of this pink, but I did want to create some blue patterns here. And I'm just experimenting now with how wide I want to go on these patterns. Bye, Otter. Not too far, I think. I think that's about right. So I'm going to grab my blue liner and make an irregular... Just going to make an irregular pattern here. And maybe I'll decide I want to blend it instead, but I'm going to define kind of a wobbly starburst kind of flowery design on the underside of this. And then I'm going to proceed to fill in blue up to that line. I'm going to try to do a truncated design instead of blending it in and see if I like it. I may end up blending it in. And the other thing is that, you know, it's probably going to look a little spiky in reality because there'll be darker and lighter spikes. This is me just experimenting because I've never painted a mushroom person before, so I'm just like, what can I do to this mushroom person to make it more interesting? And I feel like, well, maybe I should just paint it with a medium blue and get the dark in there. I used the picture in the monster manual. Actually, I liked the color scheme on one of those mushroom people. I have it probably close to hand. I'll fetch it in a sec. Want to get... When you're painting for a smooth base coat, you usually don't want to stop in the middle. You want to continue to paint while you're up against a wet edge, as I call it. So I'm not going to interrupt this to grab my visual. I'm going to finish it out and then I'll grab my visual. And even then, that was just like a suggestion of kind of what I'd like to do. It wasn't really a direct inspiration. I tend to like find like colors or textures in other people's work. And then I just totally diverge from it. So yeah, okay. That's pretty cool. I'm going to work on this. I'm going to try to get some patterns in here. But all this is just going to be just me messing around with, like, I don't want to have a big, open, all pink area here on the underside of the cap. I'd like to do something to it, so I just decided I wanted to try an irradiating design, see what I could do with it, see if I liked it. And have it, like, have some glowy bangles in it. We'll see. I have an idea. There. Sometimes I choose a model for the show when I don't have a clear color concept for it. This is something I never do in my own work. I always wait until I have a strong color concept for the piece and then I start it. So when we spend a piece like this, or we have a piece like this where we spend some time wandering around and trying different things, it's not really what I would do in my normal methodology. My normal methodology is I would probably try out some ideas and map out some ideas, and when I had a strong concept, I would go for it. It's interesting, but a lot of the painting I do for the show here isn't really my normal, like what I would normally do. A lot of the time here, I mentioned before that I do a lot of more wet blending here on the show because it means we get things done faster, which is a plus for the show. And since a lot of you maybe also have the goal of painting faster, it's a good investment of time. I need a little one down here, a little bit more blue back there. I'm actually going to darken down this blue now that I've got, like, kind of a, what I'll call my midtone, my dark midtone. Yeah. Yeah. I like that. That's cool. Kind of does something. Good morning, everybody who just wandered in. Yeah, I'm not using any real references. Not so much methophile. This is, again, I guess technically it's freehand. I'm just trying to I have an idea for the inside of the cap, and I wanted to try it out. But I don't count it as really freehand, even though technically I guess it is. It's creating a blobulous shape that really anybody could do. It's kind of like a flowery shape. And then I'm going to shade and put a pattern in it. But I wanted to put patterns. We're also going to be working on her hands at the same time, and probably her hair, because I'm probably going to take that the same color. Although now that I've got the blue backing there, I'm kind of tempted to take the rose and go with that on her hair. Before, I said it was a bad idea. With the pink backing it would be a very bad idea to take the hair dark red. But now that I've got this blue backing it makes more sense to take the hair a darker red or a red-black. Because you've got that blue contrast. I would never want to put a red against this faded rose. It would just not work great because it's not very high contrast. But with the blue, I feel like I could do it. I am going dark with her hair, however. Hey, K Malcolm. Yeah, I saw you ask that question at the end of the stream yesterday. I'm sorry I missed responding to it. It was just right at the end. I have not done... I've done only one transparent figure because I don't enjoy them. They're not my thing. But it's a really good one, I think, K Malcolm. I had a lot of fun with it. If you look up the water weird... I did it in Reaper's YouTube. There's a VOD from quite a long time ago, a year and a half ago almost today. I did the transparent water weird from Reaper, and I kind of showed how to work with transparent bones. So I would probably work the same. Now, if you're talking about painting an opaque section as if it were transparent, no, because it's really, really high level. Not really. The most I would have come up with would be what we were working on yesterday, the orc with the little vial of fluid with the liquid in it. So I'm not sure which one you mean. If it's a transparent plastic or if it's you're painting wings to look transparent. Painting wings to look like they're transparent and have transmitted light and you can kind of see things through them is really, really hard. Like possibly one of the hardest things you will ever do in miniature painting. Like, I would find it difficult, and I've been painting for almost 40 years. You might be able to do something, but I'm not sure which way you mean. So if you let me know which one you mean... then I can answer a little bit better. Because I'm not sure if you mean the one or the other. Alright, I'm going to thin down this blue liner a lot. I'm going to start adding some shadows into this blue area I just did. Into pretty much the cracks. I could do a wash, but I want to keep this blue color. So if I did a wash, I would essentially be putting this blue color and taking it down a level because washes will always darken the area you go over. Hold on. So yeah, Kate Malson, do you have a model in mind that you could mention too? Like if you say, hey, I'm trying to do this on X, then that'll pretty much answer my question. Unless I don't know the model, I guess then it won't. That was a little bit thick, Anne. I did that a little bit thick. I'm trying to layer in. This is why I keep wet blending stuff on this show, because it's just so much faster than trying to hit the layering. Still not seeing. But yeah, doing transparent plastics is a whole different ballpark from painting something. Like if I tried to paint this cap as transparent, for example, this would be a terrible subject to use, but that sort of thing is really hard. And you've got to have a backdrop. Like it's got to be in a diorama, I think. It also matters if you're trying to, like, make them really transparent or if you're trying to make them, like, glowing, and that's different. It's really, 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 really difficult. Like, crows, I mean, it's almost easier to just sculpt new wings that are transparent and then paint them with glazes. Like, seriously. Like, otherwise, I mean, just like I did with the glass, the easiest way to kind of suggest that idea is to do it with the pale blue and white. So I'm just putting in some shadows in here. I'm trying not to get them too dark. Because that is usually what is used in our painting to suggest, like, glass and transparent objects. I mean, I couldn't do it, crows. I couldn't do it to a level where I thought it looked right. That gives you an idea how difficult it is. And I'm up for almost anything. When there is an option for me to attempt. But what I would do if I wanted to make dragonfly wings for Rocky is I would use a transparent material in the first place. And then just paint on top of it. Yes. Right, so if Reaper has transparent wings, then that makes it easier, because then you can paint it like I did the Water Weird and just leave a lot of the transparency. So that's going to be a lot easier. Yeah, careful. Yeah, I mean, that can work. It's just, yeah, it's getting a framework for the wing at that point, then. It's probably easier to just do the Reaper clear wings and put some color shift paint over them to make them look iridescent sheen. Because that won't... The iridescent paint, it needs a lot of layers to build up, so it's naturally transparent, so you can work that very easily. Whereas the problem with using really thin... iridescent material and wire is that getting a wire that's strong enough, that's thick enough to be strong and to keep your wings in shape, is also going to make it look bad because it's so thick. Yeah, if I were you, I'd just I'd use already like pre-done transparent plastic. Hey, is there 3D printing filament that gives you a transparent effect, guys, or is it always opaque? As somebody who has actually done translucent wings before, for a dragon, a zombie dragon conversion, very long time ago, 20 years ago, it was a Golden Demon entry. It just, it broke off the base, like, before it got entered, so I was like, bah, humbug. Yeah, there you go, Anvil. Thank you. You didn't need to all caps that, though. You don't need to shout it at me. So, then 3D printers give you a whole different option. Because you really need durability. You don't want to put all that time into those beautiful dragonfly wings and then have them just really fragile and easily crumpled. They're going to get damaged at some point. It's almost... Yeah, no problem. No problem, Anvil. I do appreciate it. I was joking mostly. I figured you just had your cap locks stuck on. I've done that before. So now I'm just kind of using this blue liner wash to shade. I'm just painting the wash in. I'm not using it as an actual wash. I'm essentially layering with it. Layering is just using like a wash to paint with. But you're not like throwing it over everything. You're actually painting it and putting it where you want it to go. But the wash consistency and the layering consistency are essentially the same. And because these are very sharp folds, narrow folds, I'm not doing a sideways blending stroke. I'm just going with the shape. But yeah, in this age of 3D printing, translucent or transparent wings will be, I predict, a lot easier to reach, to do. Because you can control it then. You can get the shape you want, the size you want, just print it out. David's already said we're looking for a bigger place, and he's already said he wants a printer. Like he's like, if we get a bigger place, we're getting a 3D printer. And I'm like, oh noes. I better paint faster. There. So getting just a little bit, you can see the shadows are just bringing a little bit of texture into that background. Yeah, K-Mousem, you kind of disappeared out there, but if you are still there and you want to tell me what exactly you meant by that, if you mean wings that are actually out of transparent plastic or wings that look like they're transparent, then I can focus more on your exact topic. Yeah, and those people, like, you know, they're putting all the time into sculpting those cool models. They do deserve your money. Just like, you know, any miniatures company that's putting out great stuff. I mean, really, these people and these companies just, like, vote with your dollars, really. It's, you know, it keeps us afloat doing what we love to do in this industry that we love, so... Personally, I have so many good models already. It's like, if David got a 3D printer, I don't know. That and the cleaning, like, would annoy me, I think, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. We've already decided that if we get a bigger place, we're putting up an airbrush station too, so. I'm going to take some blue liner and really sharpen the edge of this pattern a bit, I think. Oh, cool, Zexilla. I am just playing around, trying to figure out where I want to go with her. Eventually she'll look cool. I have all the faith. It's like, even if this isn't coming together yet, it'll come together. The puppy. The puppy would cost more to feed. The puppy is my mouth to feed, and the printer will be David's mouth to feed. Although it's likely I won't get a puppy for another year. Just even if we get a bigger place, because I want a Kiri descendant, so I have to wait for the right litter. So just putting a darker edge, since I'm already using this color to shade with, it's very easy to create almost a blended effect on this darker edge when I come out to that color and put a little bit of dark there. There's a method in my madness here. Oh, I meant to go and get the reference too. Hold on. Let me just neaten up this little edge here. Going in with a dark line, even when there's no like texture, it kind of suggests. I don't know, dogs are expensive. Dogs are going to be more expensive. Considering how cheap filament is, I'm going to say the puppy is far more expensive. You've got vet bills in there. You've got, it's not just feeding costs, you know. A dog is expensive. Trust me. Kiri racked up quite the bill over the course of her life. Let me see. Where is my monster manual? There it is. All right. So the color that I liked. Let's see here. I'm just dropping things. Because, you know, dropping things. I want to put it under the camera. Hold on. Let me back out a little bit here. This big mushroom guy here. with the green and the blue. So this guy. He's got like the olive green that she's got, and he's got like that reddish pink, though I haven't gone back in with the red yet. He's got a lot of brown. I haven't thrown that in yet, but I think her clothes are going to be that. And then there's blue. So that is the color scheme, and it's one of my favorite color schemes. I dropped something, so I'm going to retrieve it here. The other mushroom guy was also pretty cool, but I decided that I wanted to do this one instead. The other one is more a David color scheme. It's more teal and orange and red. Oh, we only want resin. Pendrake, we've got no interest in... We just want to print really high quality figures. That's all we care about. Is competition level high quality figures. So I'm certain that he wants resin. And we'll probably end up putting it in a garage. To not worry about the fumes. But it's going to be a long time coming. So we're in no hurry. So we'll go back and continue the kind of lining. It's the regular D&D 5e. Much as I found some of the art in the new D&D 5e books kind of hit or miss, I like that mushroom one. But yeah, again, I'm mostly taking inspiration from color schemes. Like, when it comes down to actual patterns and such. No trouble. I'm saying that was one thing that David said when we were talking about getting a bigger place. Is like almost the first thing was like, we're gonna get a resin printer or a 3D printer. That's what he said, but certain he meant a resin printer because we'd have no use for a regular 3D printer. I don't like the texture of the filament stuff. And if it doesn't make me want to paint, it's not very useful for me. But yeah, not in the market. That would be a David decision, and it's just going to be him making that decision. I suspect he'll talk to people he knows that use them. And he will do a lot of reading. And he will decide, which is fine. It's going to be, if we get one, it's his baby. I don't really have any interest in playing with it. It'll be his toy. It's not my kind of toy. Yes, I wanted a dark value color. Oh, I was more dissing filament. Like, filament, my experiences with filament printers have been that I hate the texture of the thing that comes out. Like, I just don't like the way that feels, the plastic feels and all that. I'm not a fan. I like resin, though. No, that's if we get a bigger place, when we get a bigger place. Yeah, that's pretty much it, Trouble. I've got no interest in, like, printing it. If David pretty much says you can use the printer, you just need to clean your own models, I'll just never use it. I'll end up paying somebody else to do it. Because that's just, like, the idea of, like, cleaning off my own 3D prints, just, it does not excite me. Like, I'm just, like, having seen, like, Daryl and Kevin do it, it's a pain in the butt, and I would rather be painting. I would rather pay the little extra money to have somebody else do it. Alright, I think I need a little bit more there. Yeah, mostly I wanted a really dark shadow back in this cap Pendrake, and so I was like, if I'm going to do that, I want to do an accent color, I think. And I was saying, actually, remember when you suggested red hair? And I was like, bleh. But now we could go with red hair because we've got the blue barrier in between the pink. You just don't want that, the red next to this muted pink. It just would be, it wouldn't be the best choice because contrast. But now that we have the blue, we could go with a black red for her hair. And we'd be fine with it. All right. I just want to make sure that I've got a consistent shadow. All right, that's good. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Sweet. All right, we're getting there. We're getting to where I want to be. Yeah, but if David doesn't want to clean my models, Francis, then that means no. Because if he's going to be like, sure, you can use it, but you have to clean your own models because I don't want to, then it just means Anne isn't ever going to use the printer. I don't want to do it. That's why I haven't been in a hurry to get a printer all along. That and the toxicity issue. But mostly it's just that, you know, at that point, I'd rather just give my money to all of these awesome people online who are trying to make a little extra cash by printing 3D things and cleaning them for folks. I am all over helping those people make a living. And they help me avoid the onerous task. It's like getting a maid service. Right. I don't know about that. I mean, I order a lot of European resin, Lord Nobody, and there's so little I have to do to these models. Like, it's ridiculous how good they are. I've gotten thoroughly spoiled when I actually deal with a model that has mold lines. I'm just like, what is this stuff? Like my Templar, like this model came with one mold line. One on an underside of things. Like one. And it wasn't bad. Like it was perfect. This came as pretty much a perfect model. Like there were just tiny little things from that one mold line. I was like, it's just crazy how good the resin casting can be these days. I'm gonna just straighten up my thing here so I'm not crooked. Hate being crooked on camera. It's just no fun. Yeah, well, when you're practicing, Francis, that works great. I still would recommend, like, working on mold lines just so you get good at it. So for when you go to paint something that's really special to you, you'll be able to remove the mold lines, because otherwise there is the very large danger that down through the day, like years, as you look back on the earliest models you painted, you're like, wow, I could still really enjoy this model, except that this mold line is driving me crazy. So there's definitely, like, so now I'm just adding a deeper shadow right around the interior of that, because I want some additional contrast toward the middle. I'm pretty happy with how this is coming out at this point. Just pretty much doubling down on my blue liner. But yeah, well, I guess I'm one of those really, really busy people, so I have to, like, whenever I look at a time sink, like cleaning models, that I could just, you know, I could totally avoid by just buying the model that's already pre-cleaned. Like, chances are, unless I'm really strapped for cash, I'm going to consider that. Especially when I'm buying so few models these days, so I can save up for the ones I want. So yeah, for me, I mean, some people really enjoy it. They find it relaxing, the cleaning process. Like, they really like it. They use that opportunity to kind of go over the mini and think about color schemes, which is, you know, also a great use of that time. All right, there we go. Oh yeah, Pendrake. Like, I took so much crap because I would, like, half-ass my mold lines when I was a younger painter. But then I got so they really annoyed me when I would see them. So that essentially powered through my opposition to cleaning mold lines. I do it because I must. That's why you often will see me leave one here on camera, because with these models, they're screen paints, so they're not as important, but, like, for competition level, absolutely, I will be a stickler for mold lines. Yeah, it's true, Bergala. And for me, it's painting. Yeah, firewood. It's just like, I'm okay with giving money to other people to clean them. It's all like, how much time do you have and how do you want to use your time? It's funny that, you know, freelancing has really made me double down on my time usage because I have a lot of stuff to do. I'm the only one who's going to do it. And, you know, I'm really having to kind of regiment my time with like my my working out and my cooking, you know, which are also necessary and high priority for me. And then, you know, my writing and all the other stuff that I do also. So it's just, I'm having to really, really get time management down to a fine art here. And so anything like that, that just sounds like a total time sink to me where I can't be doing anything else, I'm loath to do it. Because I'll be like, well, I could be doing something else during this time, but instead I have to clean off this model. So yeah. So it's all just your mental attitude. All right, so she's got these tendrils over her hands. We're going to do these in blue also. And we'll see if I got all the mold lines. Sometimes when you go back to paint something, you notice a mold line that you did not notice before. So this is kind of like the Mushroom Man in the concept art I showed, where his arms are blue, and his hands have some blue, I think, too. But hers, we won't have the blue start until it gets down her arms a bit. And putting this here is repeating a color around the model. So having blue here, then we've got kind of a triangle of blue going here. And again, I'm going to darken down this. I'm going to bring out some details. So this blue will kind of disappear a little bit more as we work with it, as I cover it up with highlights and shadows. You can do that with any color. If you put down a color on the model and you're like, oh, I just wish that was darker, just make your shadows bigger. Cover up a lot of your base coat with shadows and suddenly you'll have shifted it darker. Without going back and repainting. Hello, Mitio. Yeah, it's a cool piece, huh? This is my first Christine Van Patten model sculpt. I think it might be like almost the first thing she did for Reaper. I'd have to ask her. I'm doing her as a pretty evil monster, so I'm not making her like... A lot of people have painted her as just pretty, but she always looked kind of like inhuman and like bad mojo to me, so I'm definitely not painting her as very sympathetic. Like her very pale, non-human skin tone. Her cruel little smile. I mean, I like to eat mushrooms, but I don't like it when they, like, rise up and try to kill me, so... Yeah, I haven't tackled the back at all yet. This will be the fun part. My challenge is to make both sides as cool. Each side as cool as the other. Just trying to get some of this blue blocked in so that I can work with it. Hello, Glenn. Nice to meet you. If you're new to the stream, welcome. I do this every weekday morning at 11:30 a.m. USA Central Time. And we work on all different models. Today is Mushroom Queen. And I'm just trying to get some of these the blue blocked in so that I can apply shading and highlighting and really get moving on it. I have a vision in my mind's eye of where I want this to go. And we shall see if it looks cool like I think it'll look. So I definitely want to darken down a lot of it. need to get the backside back here. Yeah, we can go really colorful on the cracked cap. So I'm looking forward to that. There we go. It's about time to stretch, so I'm just going to touch this up a bit. Maybe I'll bring in my brown. Or maybe I'll keep the brown down here, but then I have a question mark on where I want to go with the clothing. I think I do want, like... I could bring a rose in again, but there's too much rose all around it. So we'll see. We'll see. I could also go blue with it, which would be more blue, but that would start to really introduce a heavy blue shift to the piece. I'm not sure I want it. So now I'm going to use some layering instead of wet blending to bring in some shadows. And I'm going to kind of use this hand as a test for what I want to do with all this blue. I'm going to cover up a lot of this space with darker blue, wherever I see the potential for shadow. And she does have a ring on her hand, or it looks like one, so I need to remember that. But yeah, she's definitely a monster. In my book, she's definitely a monster anyway. Alright, so let's see here. And I got a little bit out of the lines there. So this is where it's good that I have my initial green color mixed up. Remember, I mixed that up at the start of the stream because I knew I was going to need it. Because wherever I get outside of the lines a little bit, I can bring my green back in to touch up. Tighten up the details there. Wherever I've gotten a little sloppy. I didn't bring her skin tone all the way up over here either, and I do need to do that because I do have some freehand, quote unquote, designs that I'd like to do. Not really, they're not on the level of freehand that we were doing yesterday, just little patterns. Gonna grab some shadow and put it on the underside of this hand. Pretty fair to keep the entire underside of the hand in shadow. Oh, I do see a mold line. I would do them in white, and then I would paint your contrasting color over the top, Lord Nobody. I did that on the Fire Giant long time ago, Fire Giant King. We did it on the runes in his sword. Pardon me while I take off parts of this mold line if I can. It's a very awkward mold line around the hand, so I may only be able to take off part of the back part. It looks like a tendril to me, so I kept it, but now it's looking like a mold line, so... But yeah, I would paint the area white, touch up around it, and then paint it white, sink the color in, and then touch up around it. Yeah, these mold lines on the tips of the fingers are like, ugh. There we go. That's good. Good enough, I think. Except that little bit doesn't want to come out. Does that make sense, Lord Nobody? Somebody can make that t-shirt. I wouldn't be surprised if that t-shirt was somewhere out there already in the miniature painting community. Alright, let's paint over that. Nice thing about bones material is you just paint over it after you take out your evil mold line. But yeah, sometimes with a model like this that has a lot of organic shapes, it can be very hard to figure out what is mold line and what is tendril. Bones USA seems very close to resin as far as the what do they call it? Crap. I can't remember what they call it when they make it more of a firm material, less of a rubbery one. But anyway, Bones USA is a lot more resiny. It feels more like that hardness. I mean, not that it is. I mean, we're working with our first Bones USA on the stream with Lizette. Yeah, hardness, durometer, thanks. Bones USA is a higher durometer than standard Bones, and it's a little bit tighter than Bones Black, I think. Bones USA is so far the superior material. Let's just put it that way, in my opinion. Even David likes Bones USA, and he does not like any other Bones. Just because he doesn't like the rubberiness. Alrighty, now we're going to put in some shadows in here, because there's some kind of lumpy areas. Were they worse to remove, Lord Nobody, or just the mold lines themselves were worse? So I thought that it felt that Bones USA was much easier to remove mold lines. They are different, made through different processes, so as Reaper continues to try to fine-tune the sweet spot for models, I expect they'll improve processes where they can. Yeah, I tend to use a hobby knife on most of my mold lines anyway. And diamond files for the rest. I don't use regular files anymore. I just find that they just don't do the job as fast as I want them to. Because impatient. Pretty much I want to get to painting as fast as I can. Alright, darken down the underside of the hand there. Alright, let's take a stretch break. And I'm going to start bringing up some highlights. Oh, okay. So you had no problem removing them. That was kind of the change that I noticed, Lord Nobody, was that the mold lines were much easier to remove on the Bones USA. Yeah, the white bones are totally different material. like, as far as like how you work with it, because it's so much softer. Essentially, can just treat it like something different. Hey, the color I just put down is the same color as my shirt. Just notice that. Something you'd only notice on screen. Maybe I'll block in the brown on that base, and then maybe it'll give me an idea what I want to do with her. I could just do a really dark green on those vines on her. That might work. That might work. Go ahead, stretch everybody if you've been sitting for a long time. Stretch! Yeah, Bones USA is, I think, the superior. As far as right now, I think Bones USA is superior to previous iterations. I agree with you, Kaz. Now, I've only worked with one, but just looking at the quality. I'm going to do my floor exercises. I'll be right back, guys. All right. Yeah, the pointy parts stay pointy. That's a good point. See what I did there. Let's see. Let's look at my little, a lot of white, some blending. Just trying to look at my, yeah, maybe I could do a green up to like a brown on that thing. The body of this mushroom man kind of blends through browns into greens and back, so probably I could work with that. Yeah, I mean, metal figs are great, but the bones is cheaper, so it's like, I think Reaper's just trying to get... Reaper's philosophy, remember, guys, from the very early days of Reaper, has been to put out a quality product at a attainable price point to keep the hobby, so you can buy more minis to enjoy. So this whole bones push reflects that, right? Like, we're getting back to basics here. We're trying to figure out, or Ed is trying to figure out, what's the highest quality product I can produce for a still affordable price point, so that people can buy more models. I mean, Reaper's always very cost conscious. We don't want to be one of those companies putting out, a mini for $25. We don't want to. So if you want, that's why we still do, I suspect that's why we're still doing both. Is that some people really do like metal and they'll pay more for it. But some people really like bones, and as bones get higher and higher quality, then you get that. You get some of the market going over to the next thing. I would be really surprised if the next Kickstarter was not a Bones USA Kickstarter. I suspect they're kind of expensive to set up, so I think that Kickstarter might be the way to do it, but I do not have any direct knowledge of this. I'm not at Reaper anymore directly, so I'm not in the meetings. My conjectures are just conjectures. So I'm going to get some cyan blue. I'm going to mix in a little bit of this navy just to hit it with a little bit of muted. I don't want really bright. I am going to grab my pure white on this one. That's an Ed question. As I do not recall precisely, I cannot answer that question. Justin may have the disclosure on it, or Quindy. I have heard things, but I didn't even bother to listen, so I don't care. All I care about is the end product. Type of plastic, yeah. Yeah, I agree with you on the resin being king on that. Nomad Zeke. I mean, that's why I buy a lot of awesome resin models from Europe. I am going to bring this way up and see what I can do here. Oh, I wanted to use some Ice Devil Blue too. So now I'm trying to make some blue for my highlights. And I'm just trying to mix up some white, some Ice Devil Blue, with some Cyan Blue with a little bit of my previous... Oh, that's a good color. I like that color. That's pretty sweet. It's a nice light blue. Maybe I can do what I want to do with that. And again, I have only the roughest idea of what I want to do. The one thing about metal is it's very, it's high rub off, and the plastic tends to have the paint bond to it a little bit better, I think, but the primer and paint, if you use primer and just paint. I find, I mean, metal's really hard, right? It's got a very hard surface, and you're putting a softer surface, the paint, over the top of it. So, I don't know. I like both, really, as long as the detail's there, I'm good. As long as the detail's there and cleanup isn't a bore. Let's see here. What do I want to do with this? This is my question. Now I've got this color. Now what do I do with it? I'm like Wile E. Coyote who just caught the Roadrunner. I kind of feel like I wanted to do patterns. So we'll see what kind of patterns I can do. Kind of wanted to do just little dots to kind of suggest like phosphorescence or something. I'm going to do a little kind of a test here and see if I like it. Going to be very time consuming if I choose to go with a lot of this. But I think I'm going to go even lighter here. Yeah, exactly, Quindy. That's why I was like, I don't even know, nor do I care. The differences are likely proprietary, and we're not gonna, like, you're not gonna have... Reaper, just like paint formulas, Reaper's not gonna tell you exactly what Bones USA is. They're protecting their IP. It's completely fair. Some resins break if you sneeze at them. I don't know, I've knocked over a Templar Girl, like, a lot. Maybe that's why I like resin busts. They don't tend to break when you sneeze at them. They're bigger, so they're thicker resin. Although the sword, I'm sure, at some point I'll drop it onto cement and snap the thing. I got away from the weight of the metal. It got to be a detriment to me, because if I knock it over, it's like super likely to chip. The same thing that makes it feel nice in your hand makes it super likely that the paint will chip if you knock it over on anything at all, like with a rough surface. Whereas I got a real appreciation for plastic minis that just bounce when they hit the floor. Because I tend to be clumsy, and so I will drop things. Absolutely, I will drop things. Or I'll knock things off of the precarious place I've put them, because at the time I did not think about how precarious it was. Yeah, you can always, like, glue a penny onto the base or something. And I like that better. I like weighted bases much better. Just playing around here, guys. Taking some pure white to see. That's what a really good brush lets you do, by the way. So those little tiny dots, no problem. Yeah, that's exactly it, Mathophile, is that, you know, the weight helps on the bottom of the figure. Maybe I'm gonna do... Maybe I'll bring this up. Maybe I'll make her fingers lighter. I'm gonna experiment with that a bit. I kind of want to do these little dot patterns, though. So now let's take this and do it. Although this is going to be very, very... What I want here to suggest is, like, kind of like spores and magical spore things. With these little glowing dots. And we'll see if I can manage to do it. Those were kind of clumsy. Let's do that. I'm gonna glaze it, I think, with some blue after this. But yeah, everybody likes different materials, and like really, it's, you know, we're kind of blessed in that we have a lot of different places we can go for awesome materials. I'm gonna glaze that back down with some blue, my middle tone blue that I mixed up. Good tip, thanks, Crows. For anybody interested in Bones USA, Crows just brought up a thread. That's all about it. So you can go check it out if you are interested. I think I went too far too fast with this, so I'm gonna back it back. Probably should have just gone with my lighter blue, but we'll see, we'll see. I'm gonna keep working on it until I like the effect that I've got. Mixture of little dots and big dots. That's kind of looking better. I like this effect now. I need a little bit more down here. It's just going around back and forth, figuring out how high the highlights I want to take this. White was too much on the fingers. I'm gonna have to make a note of what I did for the blue here Actually, I'm going to grab a pen and do that right now because I'm going to have to recreate it next time. And I mixed blue liner, Nightmare, Cyan, about 1 to 1 to 1. There we go. Whenever I'm creating a complex mix, I like to make a note. There. Now I have a nice note on my... I've got all my colors for Fungal Queen, because all of these have been complex mixes. And I just keep those stuck onto her little card top so that I know where they go. And that whole thing just rests under her on the shelf, so I always have access to it. It's just a tiny bit organized. It's not like I'm super organized, but every little bit helps. Then we're going to put a little bit of dots up here. Yeah, always splat, unless it's so easy for me to remember that I just am like, yeah, I don't need to. And sometimes that's the case, but all of these, all the colors on her are complicated. Because I had a very specific mental idea of what I wanted. So this is kind of my proof of concept. This like little gauntlet right now. Kind of test whether I like this idea of the pattern. And I definitely want to go irregular with these shapes and the pattern. Kind of like clusters of stars. More like clusters of stars, less like predictable things. And now I want to try something. But first I need to really quick block in some of her skin tone here. I just want glowing spore hands. And then we're going to add some glow spots up here. And we're going to do a bunch of other stuff. You could paint this model very simply, and it would work very well. It's a model that can really be painted either way. You can put a lot of time and like little tiny details into it, or you can put a very simple paint job on it, and it'll be very effective. If you do simple, make sure you vary your lights, mediums, and darks, because you want that contrast. Where do I want there? I will say that I really do like this Ice Devil Blue that I also used to build the highlights. If you haven't tried it, it's a Pathfinder color. It's a really light, almost aqua. It's almost aquamarine. It's a very good highlighter for warmer blues like Cyan and Dragon. Oh, Eat to Surf, it's 3 times. 3 times reading glasses. I find that's a sweet spot for me. Like, with 3 times, I can see every detail. I can see really close. It corrects for my bad close-in vision and gives me that little extra boost also. Alrighty. Like now I feel like these glasses, if I hold the model out here, I can see as clearly as I used to see when I was younger. So it's like, and if I get closer, then I can see like super. Alright, let's see here. I wanted, yeah, that's right, skin. Skin! I wanted to bring in her pale skin tone. And I mentioned before, as a mushroom, she has like human-ish anatomy, but it's not really human. And it probably shouldn't be, since she's a mushroom. So if it doesn't line up, it's not a big deal. Definitely don't look at this piece if you're trying to, like, learn human anatomy. Because she's definitely got creepy monster anatomy going on. With those long fingers. I'm just going to bring in a shoulder here. I want to at least get some highlights on this arm and bring it up a bit so that I can extend my patterns that I want to onto the skin to see if they'll work. Might end up having to do it next time because we're already getting close to the end of the stream since we didn't start too late today. But anyway, let's see if I've got any other questions. Oh yeah, I left the sticker on them, yes. Sorry, I was just catching up a little bit on the chat. I forgot that I left the sticker on it, and I have not removed it yet. Makes it easy to check if I ever forget, right? That's a little bit too stark there. That crease. It's not very well blended. Kind of a heavy glaze over the top. Blends it in a lot more. But yeah, 3 times I find is pretty good. Like there have been models where the eyes are so tiny that usually it's Tom Meyer sculpts where I actually have to steal David's Optivisor and put him over the top of these reading glasses and get like 8 times to do them. But those are very much the exception. Most models will not demand that you do that. Tom just sculpts extremely fine details on his minis. And it can be difficult to paint them because they're so close, so small. Hello, Happy? Oh, thanks for the raid. Although it's at the end of the stream again, Roll to Explode. End of the stream. I haven't, like, totally stopped yet, though, so you're okay. Hello, everybody on Roll to Explode stream. I'm painting a mushroom woman. A very evil, monstrous mushroom woman. And I was just trying to kind of rush in some of these skin tones so that I could put some patterns on her skin to match the patterns I just did on her little spore gauntlet here. Which is to say her hand, but it looks like a spore gauntlet, so for me, it's a spore gauntlet. And since I am, like, really allergic to molds, the spore gauntlet would be highly effective versus Anne. Alright, so that's good enough, I think. But yes, we will raid somebody else in turn, so your raiders will get the benefit of our raid after I throw some of this on here. I use the glaze to pull stuff together. So one of the reasons that you do glaze is that it goes together with layering. Eat to surf. Glazing and layering go together like with like shaking hands. Like when you layer, you're never going to get a perfect blend. But when you glaze over your layering, if your layering is decent, you will be able to create the illusion of the perfect blend and draw things together. In this case, my shadow was too dark in my mind and it wouldn't blend very well. But I was able to put a glaze over it that was lighter to make it lighter and to pull the surrounding skin tones closer to it. So then I was able to create more of the illusion of a blend. Usually, as I've often mentioned on the stream, usually I wet blend on the stream because it's faster. But today we're layering, which means that it takes longer. It takes longer, but it's more precise. And that's kind of the trade-off that you get. Wet blending is not as precise. You usually do have to clean it up and kind of tune it a little bit with glazing and making it look better. But you also can use glazes to blend dark skin tones or any type of color. Mostly it's just when I see that I've got something that I want to be smoother, and skin tones are definitely in that ballpark. And I'm not seeing the smooth blend that I would want, so I would glaze there. But I also regularly glaze to do things like shift colors, or to knock down a high highlight like I did on the gauntlet, when I put white up on the fingers and decided it was too much. So now we've got this. I'm going to add just a bit of, we're going to do this. Yeah, we're going to do this. Here, we're going to do, should I do light or dark? I think I want to do lighter and then go to dark. So I like this spory pattern, and I want to carry it up the arm a bit. So I'm going to grab my medium blue, and I'm going to start doing patches and dots. And essentially, like almost like giraffe spots. Little just little bits of freehand to create that spot pattern. So essentially that means it lets me suggest that these tendrils are kind of also like kind of maybe growing up her arm underneath the skin. It gives her more of that alien feel to give her these little dot things, and you can keep extending them. Like so. I like that. That's a good effect. I don't want it all over the arm, but I would like it to creep up from this area. That looks good. I'm going to grab my blue liner and actually do the reverse of what I did here. I'm going to do a dark dot in the middle of the big ones. Or a touch of dark to make them a little more solid. So that looks cool. I like it. And I like that kind of doing an arc to kind of follow the quote-unquote muscle. Whether she has muscles as a mushroom, who knows? Mushrooms are pretty high in protein. Don't they have high protein? I don't remember, relatively speaking, for plants. There we go. So yeah, that's cool. That's what I had in mind when I started this whole thing on the gauntlet today. And it worked. So I'm happy for it, and that means that I can continue these patterns over the rest of the figure. Fungal, yeah. So I'm going to continue with that kind of weird alien fungus thing. I do think I'm going to go really, really like a black-red with her hair next time. And like I said, we're probably going to bring in some browns and some dark greens here to get her clothing out. I don't know. I might want to go black or an off black with that. It's like, you want to give her fancy clothes, but I've already got a lot of colors going on here, so I don't think I want to go too crazy there. So I'll have to figure out the clothes. Black is a possibility. Because brown just, like, implies, like, poverty. It doesn't really, like, it's just bland, right? Brown is bland. It's the problem. So it would not necessarily be a good queen color. So, yeah, she probably has stalks. She's just mimicking human form. So yeah, okay, cool. So we did some cool stuff today, guys. So what we did today is we introduced our third color, which I'm trying to make an accent color. So I don't want it to go everywhere. I'm just like putting it in 3 areas around the model. We experimented with blue and bringing it up in dots and doing kind of a glowy spore effect here, and introduced some freehand patterning here. There'll be more dots and things up here once we get the time to get to it. And probably even I'll start introducing patterning onto the pink underside of the mushroom as well, so that everything is consistent with the model. But right now, that's what we did, and I hope you had a good time. We answered some good questions too in there, and we talked a bit about Bones USA and 3D printing and things like that. So if you want to see what we had to say, then you can go back and check the VOD. All right, everybody, I think that wraps it, and tomorrow we're going to work on Lizette. So we'll be back onto her, probably with her contrasting colors. We'll be working on the violet, I imagine. And I may think about freehand on her, but we'll see. I've been doing a lot of freehand lately, so I don't know that I want to do more freehand tomorrow. It'll all depend on my mood. Alrighty, thanks for everything. Quindy, who are we rating? Or Reaper? Quindy or Reaper? All of the above. Yes, thank you all as well. Once I see our raid go up, I'll hit the transition button. Oh, and do we have a show later today? Is it Luca's time? Is it Luca's stream today? Yep, that's what I thought. It is. It's Alpaca People. Come back and watch Luca. He's so good. He's so good. Thank you all, everybody. I hope I have a bunch of annoying errands to run today, so I'm gonna just try to get through the day. It's supposed to be 90 degrees here, so I'm channeling Texas. So have a great day, and I will talk to you all later. And yeah, I guess I'll just say, have a lovely afternoon.